When we feel stuck, it can be hard to picture what's possible in the new year. But sometimes a small change, like refreshing your dinner routine, can make a big difference in your day-to-day. Cook Unity makes it easy to reset your meal habits with a variety of vibrant, healthy meals crafted by award-winning chefs. The chefs you see on TV and in five-star kitchens are the chefs who craft each small batch meal, and they're delivered directly to your door, ready to enjoy. There's no cooking required, and it's way healthier and cheaper than other delivery options. Experience the convenience of dishes made from local, in-season ingredients, delivered straight to your door. It's an effortless way to savor high-quality, chef-prepared meals while feeling good about what you eat. Take a step toward a fresh start with Cook Unity. Chef-crafted meals designed with you in mind. Go to cookunity.com/podcast or enter code podcast before checkout to get 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week at cookunity.com/podcast.
UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.
You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in. Glad to have you along for the ride. Jam-packed show. Once again, to get to, we have LSU football, we have LSU baseball, we have Matt McMahon and the Tigers on the road at Missouri trying to even up their SEC record at 1-1. We will get to all of it here over the next 15 to 20 minutes, so buckle in, smash the subscribe button, the like button, please share. You can follow me on social media. On Twitter X at Musso Matthew. Of course, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram as well at Matthew Musso1, and all of that is greatly appreciated. All right. We start, as always, with LSU football. So on Monday, we talked about safeties that were coming on campus to visit for LSU this week. Of course, DeMarcus Cooley from NC State, Keontae Scott out of Auburn. Right after we kind of posted and got everything up, another visit hit the news cycle publicly that I want to touch on because it's an important one for LSU, and that is at tight end. Former Texas A&M tight end Donovan Green will visit LSU Friday and Saturday, so a full 2-day official visit for Green. Just a little bit of background on him. If you're unfamiliar, he was a 4-star out of the class of 2022, 4-star out of the class of 2022, and the offer list was extensive. I mean, extensive for Donovan Green. You are looking at Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, LSU, Texas A&M, obviously, and that's what he chose. It went on and on and on. When he gets to Texas A&M, plays in 10 games as a freshman with 4 starts. All in all, 22 receptions, 233 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A really solid freshman season, and he was the guy that was looked upon heading into his sophomore season to really take a jump and become a more focal point of Texas A&M's offense. Now, look, they had a lot of depth at that point at tight end. I mean, everybody remember the name Jake Johnson, right? Max Johnson's brother, who ended up at A&M to play with Max, and he was the number 1 tight end in the country. But it was expected that Donovan Green would take a jump his sophomore season and contribute even more. Unfortunately, that would not happen early in camp. He would tear his ACL heading into the 2023 season and obviously miss all of that year. Now, that would turn into a redshirt year, obviously, because he didn't see the field at all. So back in 2024 for the Aggies, as a redshirt sophomore, he appeared in 7 games. Most of his action was on special teams, specifically kickoff return. But he did see offensive snaps in a couple of non-conference games this season. So a guy who burst onto the scene, maybe I shouldn't say burst onto the scene, but a guy who contributed very well for A&M as a freshman, come off the injury and just saw his time and opportunity diminish, enters the transfer portal. So what you're looking at here is a guy who College Football News had as a freshman All-America honorable mention in 2022. You're looking at a guy who has at least 2 years of eligibility remaining, unless he ends up getting a medical redshirt year as well, but at least 2 years of eligibility remaining. And you look at a guy that fills a huge need potentially for LSU. And I think, yes, it's easy to look at the tight end position and go, well, you're a lot better off than you were, say a month ago. And obviously you are. Look, when Mason Taylor went off to the draft and then Kamorian Pimpton entered the transfer portal, you were left with one scholarship tight end on your roster, and that was Trey'Dez Green, who you had moved to receiver. Outside of that was Giovanni Peterson, who is on scholarship but was a former walk-on. So you had 2, but one of them was at receiver, and the other one was Giovanni Peterson. So really you had 1. Now you look up, LSU signed J.D. LaFleur in the 2025 class, and everybody has a lot of high hopes for J.D. LaFleur. Obviously an LSU legacy out of Sulphur, 4-star tight end, has high rankings, is expected to come in and be a player for LSU throughout his career. But then you go out and you add Bauer Sharp from Oklahoma. That's massive. That was a huge get. We talked all about that. That's a guy who can come in and potentially, that's day one, go start, impact the game. Is he going to be Mason Taylor? Probably not. Mason Taylor is the best tight end LSU's ever had. And then the bowl game happens, and you see Trey'Dez Green have the day that he did, not just in the receiving game, but also blocking. They played Trey'Dez Green in that Mason Taylor role. He was attached. He was asked to block. He was asked to do the dirty jobs, and he did them very well. He acquitted himself quite nicely. And now you look at it and go, okay, because you'll remember we had the conversation here when talking about tight end. Or are you going to have to move somebody, or would you move Trey'Dez Green back? You're going to have to for the bowl game, but would you do it permanently? You look at him, you see the size, 6'7", 250, and you go, okay, that's a guy who should be able to develop into a blocker. Well, he took the first step in doing that and becoming a true tight end, inline blocker, complete tight end, inline blocking, and in the pass game, in bowl prep and in that bowl game. So now you look at it and you go, okay, you got Bauer Sharp, you got Trey'Dez Green, you got J.D. LaFleur coming in. There's Giovanni Peterson still there. Why do you need another one? Well, you're missing one thing. You're missing that guy who's got the girth on him. You're missing that big blocking presence at tight end. And Donovan Green can give you that if you're LSU. 6'4", 265 pounds. He would immediately come in and be your... I hesitate to say biggest because Trey'Dez Green is 6'7", but you know what I mean. He would immediately come in and be your girthiest, your biggest in terms of weight tight end on your team. And LSU, you need that. They've had that plenty. Think back to Connor Gilbreth and Brian Kelly's first season, how well that worked out. While Mason Taylor was still coming along in the blocking game. Mac Markway figured to factor into that pretty big too, but then he hit the portal and you were left without one this year, and it ultimately ended up being Bo Bordelon when you really needed it. Donovan Green can fill that role, while Trey'Dez Green maybe still figures a few things out in the blocking game. This isn't a guy in Donovan Green who I think would come in immediately day one and just change your program, but he adds an important dimension potentially for LSU with that size, being a blocking tight end. And oh, by the way, he can go out and catch the ball. He can catch the football for you. Again, what did we say? 233 yards on 22 receptions as a freshman in 10 games. So the other thing that would do, it would help avoid you becoming predictable by formation. I think this would be a huge get and a great pickup for LSU because he fits exactly what they need remaining at tight end. So Donovan Green, former A&M Aggie, will be on campus for a full 2-day official Friday and Saturday for LSU. We'll keep you posted on everything there. Okay, we'll switch gears here momentarily. We are 38 days away from first pitch at the box, which if you know me or you've listened to any of my content before, you know that makes me very, very, very excited. Opening day at Alex Box Stadium is my favorite day of the year every single year. So I'm fired up. Good time to remind you, Musso at the Box. That is the baseball only, the baseball specific podcast that I host daily during the season. That will be around with LSU Daily, separate entity there. So if you're looking for just baseball content, Musso at the Box is the place for you. Go ahead and get subscribed on your favorite podcast app. You can also go get subscribed on the YouTube channel. There will be some changes coming to that YouTube channel that we can announce shortly that I'm very excited to do. But just for now, go to YouTube, type in Musso at the Box. Channel should come up. Go ahead and get subscribed. It's going to be a great year, and I'm fired up to fire that show back up and get to talking some baseball daily. There will be baseball coverage here on LSU Daily as well because it's, all LSU sports. But baseball is my biggest passion, and that is an avenue for me to simply focus solely on that for 25 to 30 minutes, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So if you have not already, please go get subscribed to that, and just know we're back real soon with that. They're going to be hitting the field here pretty soon, and then we'll be flipping on the mic. But 38 days away, which means you're going to start seeing preseason polls. I will remind you, Baseball America, back in the fall, back in the late summer, early fall, I guess I should say, released a way too early 2025 preseason top 25. A lot of 25s. And LSU was ranked number 1. Well, on Monday, Perfect Game released their preseason top 25, and LSU checked in at number 2. A few notes on the poll and then on LSU. 10 SEC teams ranked in the preseason top 25 by Perfect Game. Texas A&M, number 1 in the poll. Georgia, number 4. Tennessee, the defending national champions, number 5. And, of course, LSU, number 2. That rounds out your top 5. Other SEC teams, number 7, Texas. Number 11, Florida. Number 13, Arkansas. Number 15, Vanderbilt. Number 20, Oklahoma. Number 22, Auburn. LSU will play 19 games in the regular season against teams ranked in Perfect Game's preseason top 25, including an out-of-conference matchup with number 17, Dallas Baptist. The rest of them, you guessed it, are in the SEC. We'll have plenty of time to really break down LSU schedule, as we go forth. But right now, they are number 2 in the Perfect Game top 25. I had somebody ask me on Twitter the other day, hey, can we get a Musso at the Box? Know what we're looking for. Well, you can't get a Musso at the Box yet, but you can tune in right now, and I'll tell you what you're looking for from this team. LSU had the number 1 portal class. They had technically the number 2 recruiting class in the country by Perfect Game, second to Tennessee. But if you actually look at the class and what teams got to campus, LSU's ratings far outweigh that of Tennessee. They just do. That is a fact. That's how this goes. Tennessee had way more high school commits, and don't get me wrong, they signed some really good players, got really good players to campus, but they signed more commits, and that's where they are. So if you want to look at this quality over quantity and say that LSU had the number 1 recruiting class in the country, you're not technically wrong. So you're looking at a number 1 high school class, taken away only by a technicality, and you're looking at a number 1 transfer portal class. You had major holes to fill on this team, and you did, with a lot of options. And that's why spring and preseason practice is going to be incredibly interesting, because they got to figure out where everything fits best, and they have to do it faster than they did a season ago. But on the mound, Chase Shores looked really good at times in the fall. I will caution everybody. He's coming off of Tommy John. It's going to take him a minute. Now, that being said, I think if LSU had to play a game today, Chase Shores would get the ball and toe the rubber on Friday night. That's who they're going to go to, I do believe. But it's going to take him a little bit of time to get acclimated, just like it did a guy like Gage Jump. After that, Cade Anderson acquitted himself quite nicely in fall, and that's a guy they definitely have eyes on being a starting pitcher. And then you have plenty of options outside of that for your Sunday role. You just look at some of the guys that LSU brought in the transfer portal. Chandler Dorsey, Connor Ware out of junior college, probably was LSU's best pitcher in the fall. He was incredible. Lefty, low to mid 90s, really nice off-speed stuff as well. He was excellent. Maverick Rizzi, another standout freshman. Kason Evans, another standout freshman. Obviously, there's William Schmidt. I mentioned Chandler Dorsey out of the transfer portal. You, of course, had Zach Cohen out of the transfer portal from Wofford. I mean, I could go on and on and on the arms that they brought in. You have the arms to make a run, even losing Devin Sheeran for the season with the ACL. Offensively and in the field, what LSU had to replace? You had to replace homers. Tommy White, he's gone. You needed help at catcher. Brady Neal hit the portal, gone. Milazzo out of eligibility. Travinsky out of eligibility. You needed to revamp the outfield a little bit as well, especially with Paxton Kling leaving. You've done all of that. You look at the infield, and y'all, there's going to be changes. It's not going to be the same infield as you saw when you run out there. The one thing I will tell you, Jared Jones will play first base. You got Jared Jones back. That's huge. He has a chance to hit 30 or more home runs this year with the right protection in that lineup. And with the other bats they brought in, they should be able to give him that. But for the rest of the infield, there's a really good chance you see Steven Milam switch to shortstop this year. You could see Michael Braswell play third. You could see him play second. There's also Danny Dickinson, who will be in this lineup because he has a chance to be a first-round draft pick come July, and he will play somewhere on this infield, whether it's third, short, or second. Tanner Reeves, a junior college kid who they love, can play all three infield positions as well. They have a lot of options there, and a lot of veteran options there, which is great to see. Same goes in the outfield. Y'all, Derek Curiel. I got this far in the conversation, didn't mention Derek Curiel, one of your prized freshmen that you got to college. That kid was one of the most impressive hitters in the fall, and he's going to play day one. At least weekend number one. He will get a start, and he will get plenty. He's going to get an opportunity, whether that be in center, left, or right, because he's really good. And then, oh, by the way, what you have returning there, too, Jake Brown, who's going to pitch this year, too, by the way, which I'm fired up for. Ashton Larson, old steady Eddie, old reliable, old trustworthy Josh Pearson, and now his brother John. You brought in Chris Stanfield from Auburn, who's an elite center fielder as well. You've got plenty of options. What's going to be most fascinating is if they can piece it together faster than they did last year. And if they do, there's no reason this team should not be in Omaha come June with a chance to make a deep run. So if you're excited, you should be. Said you needed help at catcher. You got Cade Arambidi to campus, which was a big coup, and he had a great fall for his first taste of college baseball. And then Blaze Priester transferred over from a Mississippi community college. And he led LSU in homers in the fall. You replaced a lot. And that, again, I didn't even mention Eddie Yaman or Luis Hernandez or any of the other bats you got out of the portal that they just love the bat and will find a spot for them if they hit. They're stacked. They're absolutely stacked. It feels like we've seen this movie before. I tweeted this after that Baseball America poll came out. I feel like we've seen this movie before. LSU loses a road regional final. They have a sour taste in their mouth. They proceed to win the draft, win the portal, and then get a number one ranking. That's what happened in 2023. I'm not telling you the sequel's going to be as good as the original. What I'm telling you is if they find a way to piece this together and gel quicker than they did a year ago, they have a great chance. So get excited. 38 days away from LSU baseball. You can tell I'm fired up. And again, Musso at the Box, go ahead and get subscribed up if you have not already. Last but not least, LSU Hoops. They're on the road tonight at Missouri. Both teams come in 11-3, 0-1 in the league. The difference, Missouri had to go travel to number 2 Auburn, and they were definitely not expected to win that basketball game. LSU got to host Vanderbilt and really did not perform well on their home floor in that one. We recapped it on Monday. LSU has got to steady the ship here. This is one you have to have against Missouri on the road. It's, again, 2 evenly matched teams, but there are a few things that could swing this game. One for LSU, one for Missouri. But when you look at them, I mean, Missouri averages 85 points a game. LSU's at 83. They're right there kind of in defensive efficiency as well, giving up both mid-60s. Then you look at the net, and this is a huge opportunity for LSU. Missouri, 44th in the net right now. This would be a quad 1 win for LSU if they can go on the road and get it. Remember, road games are net 1 through 75 make up quad 1. So this is a huge opportunity for the Tigers tonight to improve their standing because you have a gauntlet coming, and it starts on Saturday. I should say after this Missouri game, you have a gauntlet coming of 5 games, and it starts on Saturday with a trip to top 25 ranked Ole Miss, number 20 Ole Miss, I do believe. This is one you have to get. So what are the inflection points? Well, I'll tell you one thing. For LSU, rebounding. They look like they're going to have a size advantage over Missouri, or at least an advantage down in the paint, I should say. LSU, their rebound ratio is about 4.5 points better than Missouri's. So LSU is consistently rebounded really well. Again, you look at a guy like Corey Chest. He is top 5 in the league in offensive rebounds. That would be huge for LSU in this game. They did not get enough of those against Vanderbilt, and it cost them second chance points. So rebounding is an area that LSU should have an advantage here Tuesday night against Missouri. But LSU has to not turn the basketball over. Vanderbilt was first in the SEC in steals. You know who's second? Missouri. And LSU is last in turnovers in the SEC. It was a tale of two halves with that against the Commodores. You turned it over 11 times. 11 times in the first half, led to double-digit points off turnover from Vanderbilt, and that's ultimately what dug you your hole. You'd climb out of that hole, and you know why you would? Mainly because you only turned the ball over 4 times in the second half, and you lost the second half by 1 point. If LSU can take care of the basketball, they have a really good chance to win this game. I like LSU to win this game if they take care of the basketball. Because all else is equal, and you have an advantage on the boards. And I like that a lot. Turnovers. Protect the ball Tuesday night up in Missouri. The other thing, I'd like to see better production from LSU's bench. You had 8 bench points against Vanderbilt. That ain't good enough. Especially a guy like Victorious Miller, who you've been able to rely on so much in the pre-conference. He needs to I'd like to see him bounce back a little bit from a rough opener there in conference play. And he's not the only one. I mean, LSU is going to need a little bit more production from their bench going through this schedule than they got in the opener. So there you go. For me, it comes down to turnovers. If LSU protects the basketball, I think they do go to Missouri and get the win because just about everything else looks equal between these two teams. It's hard to win on the road in the SEC. It's even harder when you turn the basketball over. Protect it. You know, we'll have a full recap for you here as we continue throughout the week on LSU Daily. Be sure to subscribe, share, like, follow me on social media. All is appreciated. Thank you for joining me, and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.